All right, thank you very much for joining everyone today. My name is Joe Steele. I'm the Senior Director of Communications and Legislative Affairs here with Lyft. Thank you for taking time to join us today for another edition of our Liftoff webinar series. Today we are very excited to bring in Lifeline, Firehose, and talk about an incredible innovation that they have, which is providing consistent, breathable air to firefighters, saving lives, and it's a great innovation. We're very excited to have them as part of our ecosystem, part of our membership. So excited to hear them talk about their work with first responders. I do want to have a couple of housekeeping issues for you. If you can put your phones, computers on mute, that'd be fantastic. We are recording this session, and we'll post it on the Lyft Technology website later on today or tomorrow. And we do want to have as much reduced background noise as possible. We will facilitate a Q&A session at the very end. So if you do have questions, please enter those questions using the chat function that we're all familiar with using Zoom these days. You can find that on the taskbar, and we will facilitate the Q&A afterwards. I do want to share a little bit of information about Lyft before we go forward to hand off to Lifeline, if you guys are unaware of Lyft and who we are and what we do. Lyft is one of 16 national manufacturing innovation institutes around the country. 9 of them are sponsored by the Department of Defense, and that is one of the that is who Lyft is sponsored by. We are a public-private partnership between industry, academia, and government, and our goal is to drive American manufacturing into the future through technology and talent development, because we believe that the future of the national economy and the future of our national security rests on the manufacturing sector. And we want to make sure that that we are developing smarter manufacturing technologies because we know that the next area, the next region that tackles that first will come out ahead, and we want that to be the USA. So how do we do that? We tackle it by looking at what we call the manufacturing equation and work each and every day to solve that. And that is the connection between materials, processes, systems, and talent. We want to make sure that we are looking at the manufacturing sector, the manufacturing industry holistically. So we're not just looking at materials, we're not just looking at how they're processed, and we're not just looking at what systems they're going to end up in and who's going to work with them. We work at that all together, making sure that the materials we understand how they're going to be processed, how they're going to react, and make sure that they will work efficiently and effectively in the system that they're going to be placed in eventually, and making sure that we have the talent on board that can work through all of those different steps. So at Lyft, we have 2 programs: our technology program, Leading Innovations for Tomorrow, and our talent program, Learning Innovations for Tomorrow. Put those both together, and you have Lyft. Little bit about the talent or the technology side of the house. Leading Innovations for Tomorrow, where we're connecting materials, processes, and systems. You can see our 4 major pillars of technology that we work on, our major focus areas, and you can see the materials and processes running right through each of these, with on the digital computational side, with ICME, moving over to agile and smarter manufacturing, and advanced alloy process development, and multi-material joining. A little bit of a deeper dive here in each of those pillar areas. We can see where our research, where our applied research and development is working on the technology side, and how we're attacking each of those different pillar areas. On the talent side of the equation, Learning Innovations for Tomorrow, it's really all about innovation still, but it's new learning tools, pathways, and venues, and it kind of revolves around our Ignite Mastering Manufacturing curriculum. That is a curriculum that we developed through funding with the Department of Defense that really exposes mostly high school students to the areas of advanced manufacturing, material science, and they take part in that pre-pandemic at our Lyft Learning Lab that you can see on the screen there in our facility, which is unique in that it is in a National Manufacturing Innovation Institute. It is not at their school. It's not at a local community college. It is perched above our high bay, so the students would come in there every day and take a look at. They can look out the windows and see our technicians, see our engineers working on some of the innovations that our ecosystem is tackling. So Ignite is a 3-year program. Again, you can see on your screen from material science to advanced manufacturing, and you see the learning lab there, really made of 7 different labs that we have at our facility. So encourage you to come visit in Detroit next time you are in the city. When it is safe to do so, we'd be happy to host you and show you around the facility. We are also not only taking a look at the jobs that are going to be available tomorrow, we are preparing people for the jobs that are available today. And that is through our LIFT certified skilled trades programs, where we offer certifications in CNC operations and welding. And we also have a program called Operation Next, which we're very proud of, which was a program that was began at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, as a way to help our departing men and women of the military as they get ready to leave the service. We want to give them the opportunity to earn some credentials in some of the most in-demand advanced manufacturing jobs available. So 6 months before they leave the service, we offered them the opportunity to get some hands-on, as well as some virtual training in CNC machining, industrial technology maintenance, welding, robotics. And that program is growing. As I mentioned, it was launched at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. It is now available for the Michigan National Guard and Reserve. It is now available for the Florida National Guard and Reserve. And we look forward to making a couple more announcements over the course of this year to expand it across the country. The DoD saw the success that we had at Fort Campbell and wanted to expand it to 9 more bases around the country. So we are in the process of doing that. We're also piloting that in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We're also piloting it to take it into industry to help small and medium-sized manufacturers kind of get off the mat as it relates to the pandemic and getting back on their feet by training some workers that they might need. So we are piloting that and working to train folks here in Detroit as well as in Pittsburgh. So Operation Next is a program that you're going to continue to hear more about going forward. So I mentioned that LIFT is a public-private partnership between the industry, academia, and government. We are a nonprofit 501c3, but we're also a membership organization. So what do folks get out of being a member of LIFT like Lifeline Firehose is? Well, they get all the things you see on the screen there, from trusted advisor, giving you the best advice that we can, not selling a specific product or service, but giving you the best advice we can from our leadership that has decades of experience in advanced manufacturing. Technology accelerators, that we're trying to take these technologies from concept to commercialization, which is what we're working with Lifeline on. A technology showcase, invited you to our facility in Detroit. Please come by, check it out, and see what we're working on. Not only are we a showcase showing the art of the possible, but we're a sandbox where we are every day, our staff is out there, our team is out there working on these materials, processes, and systems. We're a connector and convener. That's why we're all here today. So thank you very much for taking the time to join us. We bring together the best and brightest of government, industry, and academia together to really move the needle in advanced manufacturing. Talent developer, we spoke about that, all the way from high schools all the way up to people leaving the service and incumbent workers. So there is a continuum of talent development that we are working on. And finally, we are a government partner. Government can be unwieldy and bureaucratic to work with, but we like to serve as the conduit to help folks really work with the DoD, bring those innovations to the warfighter, so we can give them the best and most advanced materials and systems and that they can use. So we look forward to doing that. So you can follow us on our social media channels, contact us, visit our website, send us an email for more information. We'd be happy to reach out to you. But that is enough about LIFT. I'm going to turn the program over to Pat at Lifeline Firehose. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and allow Pat to share his. Pat, the show is yours.
Hey, thanks so much, Joe. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. First off, those are some amazing programs at LIFT. So definitely check into that. Make sure you look into the things that they're doing, because they're always on top of innovation and really cool things for students, companies alike. Secondly, we want to thank all of you guys for taking some time out of your day to come and sit with us and learn about our product. to introduce ourselves right off the bat, this is Pat Reedy. He's the chief engineer of Lifeline Firehose, and I'm Terry Elizondo. And we are going to be taking you through a virtual demonstration, which I know that's kind of funny, especially in this industry where everything is so hands-on. But obviously with COVID, we're trying new things. So please be patient with us. And we hope that you can learn just as much through this version, where we will be showing you guys some video clips and then talking about them, giving you a chance for questions in the middle as well as at the end. And but first and foremost, Lifeline Firehose, it's a proactive tool that allows your team access to continuous breathable air in dangerous situations. We're the only source for continuous breathable air in the industry. There's a lot of other supplemental things that the product can do, but we'll get through those further into this. From there, I'm actually going to hand it off to Pat to talk a little bit about who we are, and about our history as a company and where we come from.
All right. Hello, everybody. Lifeline Firehose has been a product that's been in development for a little over 10 years now. And through very rigorous testing, prototyping, and all of that stuff, a lot of the prototyping Lift has helped us with along the way. We have developed a product that will define a new level of safety for the firefighting industry. From our prototype standpoint, this all started with our chief of training, with the chief of training at the city of Lansing, who started working with the prototypes of our product and testing it at their firehouse. And once we got to a prototype level that we were comfortable taking around, we took our product out to the National Training Center in Stockton, California, where they did every test imaginable. Everything that we could do to this, we have done. We did pull testing to confirm that the fire hose itself is as flexible and as maneuverable as normal fire hose. We did destruction testing. We beat this thing up. They really took it through the paces over the course of 4 full days with all of their shifts, and really put this thing through the paces. And so that was one of the main history and background, and one of the defining moments where we as a company really said, this thing really has merit, because these guys took this thing and beat it up and used it and breathed it until it was at its limits, and came out at the end of the day saying, this is something that they could see at their department. So that being said, that goes right along with our mission, which is to continue to reduce the risk involved in firefighting and offer a redundancy to one of the most dangerous aspects of the industry, delivering continuous breathable air to the men and women who are first responders, keeping them safe so that they can continue to keep us safe. So to go into a little more of what the product is, we have a video that we're going to show now that gives you the meat and potatoes of what the product actually is.
Yes, definitely. And right before we show that video, I just also want to throw it out there, because it is something, especially that comes up a lot in the fire industry with new products, is this product, we really wanted to break down a little bit of our history, because some people think of this product and they see it, new things, they're different, and they'll say, you know, it's kind of a gimmick or something like that, but that couldn't be further from the truth. We've been developing this for 10 years. It's tried, it's tested, it's ready, and it's new to the market, but we're going to jump right into the actual physical product introduction now. So here is a video showing just that.
Hello, I'm Pat Reedy, Chief Engineer of Lifeline Firehose. This is a brief introduction to the Lifeline Firehose system, the only source for continuous breathable air. Lifeline Firehose is a standard 1 3/4 fire hose with a 1/4 inch thermoplastic airline running parallel, protected by an oversized jacket. Our patented coupler technology ensures there is no cross-contamination between the water and the air, while allowing both to operate simultaneously and independently. Hook into the Lifeline Firehose at the nozzle end using the buddy breather on your SCBA to access unlimited breathable air. This is how the Lifeline Firehose fully complements your personal protective equipment. There are 2 current methods of deployment for the Lifeline Firehose. The Lifeline Firehose air cart can replace current air carts and provide additional functionality. This is the more portable method of delivery and is perfect for high-rise and reverse lay scenarios. The other method for deployment is retrofitting or pre-installation directly onto your apparatus, using a cascade system for the air supply. The Lifeline Firehose can then be inserted into your existing crosslays and supplement your current attack lines. The Lifeline Firehose is an additional weapon in your arsenal. The Lifeline Firehose meets and exceeds all NFPA standards. Your firefighters are already using Firehose and are already trained on their buddy breathers, so implementation into your department is quick and easy. There is redundancy in all aspects of the firefighting industry except breathable air. The new Lifeline Firehose is that redundancy. Unlimited breathable air at your fingertips.
It's revolutionary. It'll change the way we do things. Every firefighter deserves to go home at the end of their shift.
All right. So just to recap on the video a little bit. Let me stop sharing so that I can show my face. So just to recap on the video a little bit, from a product standpoint, we have a Lifeline Firehose coupler here with the cutoff of the hose. So here you can see that there's the inner jacket, the water jacket, and then there's the protective jacket that surrounds the airline. So the airline travels parallel to the water jacket from end to end and coupler to coupler to deliver breathable air and water at the same time through the fire hose. So this is a coupled piece. You can see the male and the female coupler here, and those are as easy to get together as this, and the locking function is as easy as that. It's quick, it's tool free, and it saves a lot of time just from hose coupling on top of delivering breathable air. So we're going to talk about the uses of the product next and all of the different applications that we can. But before we move on, are there any other questions?
About the physical product and what you just saw in that video, if we have any.
Okay, I don't see anything in the chat.
Perfect. One last thing before we move on. As you guys saw in that video, we talked about two different ways of implementation, and that was going to be the air cart, which is going to be our more portable option, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, as well as the direct installation and retrofit onto an engine, utilizing the cascade system, putting it on an engine, or maybe the apparatus already has it. You have a panel, something like this, where you could read the different inputs for air pressure and things like that. You would have someone at the panel reading just like you would normally, or potentially another person just controlling the Lifeline system. I just wanted to make sure that you guys got a chance to see that before we jump into the next thing, because that will come up again, and we will talk a little further on that and how departments are currently utilizing it. Actually, I think a chat just came through before we move on. Let me just make sure that we didn't miss something.
No, it did. You're right. All right, we got one that says, how do you ensure that the couplers do not come apart? So the locking ears here, you can see these round rings. Those lock into the coupler piece here. So in order to open the coupler, you have to pull the ring up and then open it. And it has to happen on both sides. And there is a secondary feature on all of these that allow a pin to go through this hole, which you can't see very well here, but there is a hole that allows pins for a secondary locking mechanism at each coupler. So the couplers can never come apart accidentally. We also have another question that says, oh, that's just Joe saying, if you have a question, please enter them.
You know, but I will add one, because I think one that we get a lot, and I think it's a good one to bring up right now, would be talking about it from a training. And I'll let Pat talk about it, but not so much even training, but testing. How do you test this? Does it have the same kind of testing that a normal fire hose would have, or how does that go about?
Yeah, so from a testing standpoint of the fire hose itself, it complies with all NFPA standards and meets and exceeds all NFPA standards. And so the testing can be done if your department is doing the annual hose testing yourself. It's that nothing has to change. You just have to do the testing on this just like you would your normal hose. And for if you have a company come in and do them, a company like National Hose Testing Services, they have the capabilities to do all of the testing as well. They just would need a heads up that you have the Lifeline fire hose system, and they can come and do all of the testing. That kind of goes along with the training. Your department is trained in how to use fire hose. Your department is trained in how to use the buddy breather. So the implementation into the system is usually quick and easy. So the departments will usually go about implementing this into their training academy or into their training operation, and then roll it out to the rest of the department as a whole after some procedures and policies have been created on when to use the product and when the appropriate times are to use it.
Definitely. And I didn't see any other questions pop up there. So from there, just to keep things moving, I don't want to keep you guys all day, obviously. We're going to move on to the moment y'all been waiting for. We fed the engineers and everything they needed to know. But now let's talk about what the product does and some of the different features of this product. We've got a video to show you guys that before we move forward and talk about it a little more in depth. So here is that video, the product uses.
In a low air emergency or mayday situation, a firefighter can take out their buddy breather and plug directly into the Lifeline fire hose, giving them access to unlimited breathable air. This allows for easy attachment to downed personnel as well, which makes the Lifeline fire hose an essential tool for rapid intervention teams. In a normal, everyday situation, the Lifeline fire hose is used just like the hoses that are already in your crosslay, but with the added utility of unlimited breathable air, giving you access to RIT bag capabilities at all times during a fire. But emergency applications are not the only use of the Lifeline fire hose. For example, when arriving on scene to a car fire, it's protocol to pull a line. Having the Lifeline fire hose on hand gives you access to 150 psi of air. This can power most of your air tools, such as airbags and chisels, without having to pull a separate cart or hose line for air. This can be utilized during entry or anywhere else you would take a fire hose. We all know that the danger of firefighting does not end with putting out a fire safely. Firefighters have a 9% higher chance of being diagnosed with cancer and a 14% higher risk of dying from cancer than the general population. This brings up another way the Lifeline fire hose has been utilized in the industry: overhaul. With the Lifeline fire hose, you can directly plug your mask into the system and continue on with overhaul. Custom lengths of air hose are available to fit your department's needs. At Lifeline Fire Hose, we aim to set a new industry standard in air management and preventative safety. Every firefighter deserves to go home at the end of their shift.
You want to make sure to exit out of that though, so it doesn't go to the next one. All right. Perfect. So as you guys saw, that video breaks down a little bit more on what the product actually does versus what it is. So we're going to dive into that a little bit further. So all departments need different things. No two departments are the same. You ask any department, they'll tell you they're the best and what they do is the way to do it. But, everybody has their own thing. A really cool feature that we have here at Lifeline is that we are the manufacturers of everything. So depending on what you guys need at your department, we can make most things happen. May that be a slight change in, the design of an air cart, or where we work directly with you to make sure we can get this retrofitted on your engine, because all engines are different and all have different space. That being said, the coolest part, I think, of doing demonstrations like this, virtually is a little different, but live demonstrations is getting to be face-to-face with these fire departments and seeing what makes their eyes spark in this part of the demonstration, where we're showing all of the different uses. And that changes from department to department. For some departments, such as the first department to ever bring this into their, to bring it in was Grand Ledge Fire Department right outside of Lansing, Michigan. And they directly retrofitted it onto their engine, and they utilize it as a primary line. They pull it as an attack line, ready to go, have access to it there. Well, then you might go to the next department and they say, you know what, for an attack line, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But for a RIT line, if we're pulling a line for RIT, this makes a ton of sense. Why wouldn't we have this? And then boom. So now you've got a department that really likes the idea of pulling this as a secondary line, a RIT line or backup line to use in a situation of a low air emergency or a mayday situation, and have access to that RIT bag capabilities of being able to just hook in at the nozzle and have access to continuous breathable air. And all departments are different. Another thing that we learned as we grew as a company was, a department that we went to called Fenton. They really liked this idea for confined space. They really liked the air cart and being able to customize their air cart so that they could utilize it for confined space situations, especially at their training center, because they're currently building a full training facility where they're utilizing the Lifeline Firehose system for not only for their confined space, but also for their high-rise training, which was something I was actually about to get into. But yeah, so depending on the department, there's tons of different things. We touched overhaul a little bit, which was something that a department called White Lake was super interested in, because firefighters are supposed to be fully geared during overhaul when they go through, connected to air, keeping those carcinogens out of their body. But that's not always how things work. And it's, over time, sometimes it's hard to get everybody after they just fought a fire to continue carrying their heavy packs, their heavy airbags, and being hooked up to air, even when the fire's out and there's no real smoke. But it's still very dangerous, especially as we move forward. And there's a lot more artificial things inside of houses that have burnt. There's just a lot of carcinogens out there. And that's something that everybody can move towards and be a part of, trying to, keep our firefighters safe and keep everybody, but especially them in these situations. So White Lake was like, well, hey, so we could hook up, we could take a 50-foot whip from a mask and plug that into the hose, walk away, take our packs off, and be able to do overhaul while hooked up to the continuous air that is the Lifeline Firehose. And that was something that really caught their eyes. And as we go from department to department and move forward, we keep learning more and more about what this product can do. For instance, you're already going to pull a fire hose onto a car fire, right? You're already pulling a line. Any department's going to do that. Well, with the Lifeline Firehose, having access to that air gives you so much utility on top of only being able to use it for water. So you have that for the fire, but you also have access to that air to power air chisels and power different air tools right there, to power airbags potentially, and having access to that utility without having to bring another air cart, without having to bring other tools. Boom, you just have it right in your hands, ready to go. And it's really nice and easy to do it that way. Now, as we move forward, we're not just stopping there. Lifeline Firehose is always growing and always thinking of the next innovative change that we can make to our product, or maybe to bring another thing to supplement to our product, to push it even further, to give it more uses, to keep increasing safety in the firefighting industry. And Pat is working on a very cool innovation that I had him bring in today to show you guys. And I'm going to have him jump in and talk about it a little bit, and also talk about some of the other things that he's working on in the engineering standpoint. So Pat, take it away.
Yeah. So you guys saw in the first video of the product demonstration itself, the air cart. Well, we have created a method to deliver breathable air to firefighters that is far more portable than the air cart. And here we have the Lifeline Firehose air box, where it will take a standard fire hose connection, which you can see here, and turn it into a Lifeline Firehose on the other side. Far more portable than the air cart, has the ability to deliver breathable air up to 300 feet after this air box is introduced into the line. And it and it can do so many other things that the air cart can or cannot do. One of those things is being testing. So when you are doing like your annual hose testing, in order to convert from a standard hose, in order to get the pressure up to the Lifeline fire hose, you could use something like this instead of having to have an additional piece.
I just realized that we were sharing I'm not sure if you guys were able to see the box. So
oh yeah, let me stop sharing here so you can see the air box a little better.
There we go.
So it's a far more portable version of our air cart. It doesn't hold the air hose right on, or the Lifeline fire hose right on it. It introduces water from here, from the standard connection, standard national hose thread, and on this side to the Lifeline fire hose, so that you can hook up the Lifeline fire hose at any point. The maximum amount of distance you can deliver breathable air is 300 feet per NFPA. And so this allows us at any point to introduce a Lifeline fire hose into the mix. So this helps with testing both the air and water side, as well as giving you that ability to be more portable than if it was installed on your engine or have an air cart. We're working on all sorts of things through the next generation of Lifeline fire hose. We're looking at introducing some Bluetooth technology into the couplers. We're looking at adding a 2.5-inch version of the Lifeline fire hose to our repertoire, so that in order to flow big water, you can have a full 2.5-inch line and have somebody being able to stand there on the line, plugged into the air. So it's not just about what we have today, but it's about ways we can make the product better tomorrow.
Exactly. And even so, that's not even just stopping at us. Departments are always moving forward and coming to us about things that they might have questions. Hey, is this something you think that we could do? Or is this something that, procedurally, your product would be able to do? For instance, one that I'd really love to talk about is Grand Ledge, bringing them up again, the first department to ever utilize our product, is talking about bringing a procedure to the table where inside of their RIT bag, they actually have a disposable air mask, so that in a situation when if there is a civilian that's downed, trapped, and they need to get that person air right away, they can actually utilize that disposable mask, plug it into the Lifeline fire hose, and give them air while they look to plan the rescue and figure out what they're going to do next. So that's a really cool, that right off the bat isn't something that, the everyday person might think about. But as these departments are using the product more and seeing what works for them, seeing what they can accomplish, and also being able to just know the boundaries and what can happen with this product, they're really making steps forward into creating even more safety. So we love seeing that. And actually, next here, we're going to bring you guys some words from some chiefs that have already utilized this product or have been brought forward after seeing it and wanting to know more about it. And now they're believers of the Lifeline fire hose, as well as advocates for the Lifeline fire hose. So without further ado, here is a video with a few of the chiefs that have things to say about the Lifeline fire hose.
With the new technology in the Lifeline fire hose, it's going to enhance our safety operations on scene during a rescue operation. The safety of our personnel not having to drag around bags, not having to take the bags through maybe confined or constricted areas, it all enhances the safety of our personnel and the safety of the person that they may have to rescue. It makes our jobs easier as a chief because it's one less thing that we have to worry about on a fire scene.
Running out of air in any environment is going to instill panic into the situation. That's where Mayday situations arrive. That's where RIT teams come into play. So those are low frequency incidents that most firefighters never experience. And if you ever have, you know how chaotic it was. So being a low frequency incident, it's got a high probability of something bad happening. Lifeline Firehose can eliminate that by giving you this unlimited air in a time when it could have been the worst day of your career. So it makes sense to train with Lifeline Firehose and get real comfortable using it, not just as a buddy breather. You know, we train on buddy breathing. This is not relying on your firefighter comrade to have air. You have access to it on a hose line.
Hi, I'm Chief Rich Marinucci. When you go into a hostile fire, you need a backup plan. I don't care if you're going on a roof or you're going inside the structure. When you go up someplace, you have two ways out. If you go inside a structure, you have two people outside ready to rescue you in the event of a bad situation. But what happens when you run out of air, the most valuable thing that you need? Well, up until now, you've had no options. There's been no backup plan. But now Lifeline gives you that opportunity to give you enough air to last until you can be rescued. Don't you think you need to take in air with you when you go into a structure and have that backup plan?
Now that you've seen the capabilities of Lifeline Firehose, what type of leader do you see yourself being in the future? Are you reactive, waiting for something tragic to happen to one of your firefighters? Believe me, I've been in an organization where that's happened, and you don't want to live through that. Or you can be proactive and champion innovative changes for the future.
Awesome. And, you know, I really want to touch on something that Chief Elizondo said there at the end, where he says, do you want to be proactive or reactive? And one of the biggest problems that a small company entering the firefighting industry has is tradition. Firefighters are very traditional. A lot of fire departments are very tradition based. They've been fighting fire for 100+ years, and they've been putting them out. They've been doing their thing. They know what they're doing. And we're not trying to change the way that firefighters are doing that. We're just trying to create more safety for them and bring them, you know, at one point in time, and it's funny, you know, when I was talking to Chief Elizondo about this, he brought up when he first entered the firefighting industry, and SCBAs were a brand new thing. And some of the older guys, the senior firefighters, were always complaining about it. Now an SCBA is not just a standard, it's something that they have to have. If they don't have access to that air, I mean, terrible things can happen in the fire. Not just, you know, smoke inhalation, things like that, but you know, running out of air is one of the biggest things that causes death and injury in the firefighting industry. So fighting that tradition, fighting to make a change and bring an innovative product into the firefighting industry has definitely been the biggest hurdle for us. You know, here in the Midwest, we're from Michigan, obviously here. It's a little more tradition based than maybe, let's say, over on the West Coast, where the way they fight fire is a little bit different. So being somewhere where tradition is king, it's definitely been a hurdle. But after 2 years of being here and actually being in the market, obviously COVID kind of put a slow to that, but we are still here. We're still doing our thing. And lots of departments today are working with us to get this into their actual engines. So we're excited about that. And I mean, we look forward to talking to many more people and continue doing these type of demonstrations as well as in person as COVID, you know, slowly makes its way into a more acceptable terms for people to be around each other and being able to get into these government departments and being able to show our faces and have them touch the product and see what it can really do. That being said, I really want to open up because sometimes we have quite a few questions about this product being something so new. So I've created a little frequently asked question video that I wanted to show you guys first. And after we show that, hopefully that'll answer some questions for you, but also it will open up your minds to maybe think of a few others. So we're going to show that video real quick, and then we're going to open up the floor for questions, concerns, and comments. So here is a video with Lieutenant Josh Mills from Grand Ledge Fire Department on some of the frequently asked questions.
Yes, at our station we were able to customize our order to fit. Yes, at our station we were able to customize our order to fit our department's needs. The Lifeline Firehose works in conjunction with equipment we use every day. We're trained on Firehose just as we're trained on SCBAs. We utilize the buddy breather system and connect it to a port on the Lifeline system. Also, we can daisy chain up to 4 people on the Lifeline system using buddy breathers. A Lifeline Firehose can supply breathable air 300 feet, which is in compliance with NFPA standards. No source can supply breathable air longer than that without breaking these standards. There really is no difference in the Lifeline Firehose from a standard fire hose. It's an 1 3/4 attack line and has an oversized jacket which protects the airline that runs through it. And over a 200-foot length of hose, there's only an 8-pound difference. So the Lifeline Firehose was developed with a patented coupler system that uses locking pins to protect from unwanted disconnects. And along with that, the locking ears on each coupler were developed so that they won't catch going around corners or going into a building. And you can also follow those out just like you would on a standard fire hose.
Awesome. So at this time, now that we've brought up some of the frequently asked questions, I'd love to open up the floor to everybody. See if you guys have any questions, concerns,
attention homeowners,
ideas, comments about the product. And yeah, just really start a conversation about any of this. So at this time, if you guys do have any questions, please throw that into the chat and we'd love to talk about it.
Hey guys, thank you very much. This is Joe Steele back with Lyft. Great presentation. Really cool. The first time I saw you guys and learned about the product, it was one of those things that I thought, how come no one has thought of this before? Which I think a lot of people think that a lot about a lot of innovations, right? But can you talk a little bit about? I guess Pat, I want to explain to the group a little bit more about how you came to work with us at Lyft, because and what we were able to work on together, because people may not see the connection between the Department of Defense and our role in terms of technology innovation, but a lot of this is technology innovation because you guys are a startup organization. Our goal is to help connect startup organizations and help them get a foothold in the manufacturing industry, or they may not see, the connection between firefighting and what we do. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we were designing the couplers and when we were going through the process of prototyping these products, a mutual friend reached out and said, hey, have you heard of Lyft? This is a lot of what they do. And a lot of the stuff that you talked about in your introduction is exactly the path that we took to get to where we are. So we developed products and we needed some help with material processing, with machining, with the actual process of the prototyping that we were doing. And so Lyft stepped in and took over a lot of that for us and handled the prototype process and the material process, and really brought a lot of insight into taking things from, a design and a concept into making a physical product that we could use for all of our testing and use for all of our design. So Lyft really took the product, the concept of the product, and gave us the legs to be able to make a revised and finished product that we could offer for sale. And on top of doing that, has also opened the doors for ways that we can produce the product in the future. So not only through prototype, but because of their intricate network of companies, was able to open the door for companies to produce this on a larger scale. And so just through the network that Lyft has, we had, I think, 7 different companies quote the production of the products after prototype. So it has been absolutely instrumental in getting us to where we are and being able to offer a product for sale.
Awesome, thank you. I wanted to draw the connection there between what we're doing and what you guys are doing, and how we're able to help you get rolling. And again, you are this product is one of our favorite things to talk about at Lyft. So thank you very much for that. So a couple questions did come in, and one of them was about the trucks and the need for retrofitting. I heard that it fits on existing equipment, but I think in the videos a couple of references to retrofitting. Can you talk about what might need to happen to an existing vehicle to bring Lifeline in and make that a part of their day-to-day equipment?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with a company that's a plastics manufacturer out of Lansing called Promec, and they basically do a custom install into an apparatus. And I know a lot of departments feel like there's not much room on apparatus and all of that, but Promec has really come up with some great ideas on how to minimize the cross section of what Lifeline Firehose takes up on any of the apparatus. Because they're a plastics manufacturer, they can mount bottles anywhere inside of an apparatus. That can be on the top of the inside of a compartment, that can be on the outside of an engine, and they basically will create a place to mount the breathable air and then run that breathable air, regulate it down to the pressure that you would use inside the Lifeline Firehose, and then run that system into the cross lays or into the back lays of an apparatus, so that any lay that has access to hose has access to the Lifeline Firehose.
And a lot of engines today already have cascade systems on them. So then the retrofit is super, super easy, because all they're really doing is running that air to each lay so that they have access to that and can plug directly into the Lifeline hose. And that's going to, obviously our dream, it's a big dream, would be that every hose that is utilized by a fire department is a Lifeline hose, that being 2.5 inch, 5 inch, 1.75 inch, 1.5 inch, whatever it may be. One day having every line needed for the Lifeline hose, so that in any scenario, may that be defensive posture with a 2.5, where you're just slowly burning one out. The guys are staying outside and they're sitting on the hose and they're there for 2 hours. Or if that's an attack line or a RIT line or whatever it may be, they have access to that air, because, you don't always have 5 minutes, which is the national average for a RIT team's response. And a lot of departments will tell you that 5 minutes is even pretty fast. So you don't always have all that time. So having access to our product, to that unlimited breathable air at a moment's notice, if something goes wrong, boom, you have access to it. So
yeah, and not only if something goes wrong, like we had mentioned in the video, I mean, times when overhaul, I know it's common practice to, drop some of your gear and go do overhaul. And just having the ability to keep those carcinogens out of your body, that's a life-saving application, even if it's not a life-threatening environment at the time. So it is really one of the important features of the Lifeline Firehose.
Definitely.
So I know you talked a little bit about the hose testing and meeting all the standards that it needs to meet, but can you talk I'm interested a little bit more about that in terms of the hose potentially getting kinked or getting run over. That all part of the testing process, and that all part of the standard process that we go through. How do we protect this line from being cut off from the air at any point?
Yeah, Absolutely. And so just like there are minimum bend radius requirements for fire hose, it's the same thing with the airline that runs through it. And so as you can see here, this is Snap Tight Conquest hose. Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop the share so you guys can see this a little better.
Yep. So this is a Snap Tight Conquest hose. Snap Tight is the one who produces our the actual hose product for us. And so even in a flat lay, the airline is designed so that the minimum bend radius of the hose, of the fire hose itself, never exceeds the minimum bend radius of the airline inside. So even when coiled into a flat lay or a Cleveland load, the Lifeline fire hose still delivers the volume of breathable air that it can while it's laid flat and charged. So even in almost all of our in-person demonstrations, the hose is coiled into a flat lay in our air cart, and we only pull out the first 10 feet in order to demonstrate it. And the rest of it is coiled flat into the air cart. So, you know, through the standards, and there is not a standard for an airline to, you know, inside of an air hose currently, because we're leading the revolution in that. But there are the standards for like the delivering, the how far the air can be delivered and things like that. And Lifeline fire hose conforms to all of that. Same with the sealing mechanisms in the fire hose, and same with, so the airline will never be cut off because the minimum bend radius of the airline is greater than the minimum bend radius of the fire hose.
Definitely. And I do want to add to that too. You know, Lifeline fire hose is going to have any of those restrictions that your fire hose already have. It's not an end all be all, cure all, you know, solve every problem in the industry, right? That's not exactly what it is. Could it, if a engine runs over it, could it burst? 100%. At Stockton, they did run it over with their engine and it didn't burst, but that doesn't mean that it's never going to.
Right.
Yeah. That also being said, let's say you were in the fire and you were utilizing the air and you were utilizing the water and something fell and cut that line, right?
Severs the line completely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is a system that is installed. It's basically a reverse check valve that prevents the air from just free blowing into the fire environment, because that's the last thing you want to do. And so if there is ever a fully severed line, the valve will detect that and then shut off the flow.
Awesome. So I think probably have time for one more question. And I really want to make this about the process. How, if I'm with the fire department, if I'm interested in installing this system, what does that process look like? You guys come and give me a demonstration. There are, you know, municipalities might be, you know, especially this time might be, I don't know, strapped financially. So I don't know how that process looks in terms of funding the fire department and, you know, trucks and gear and things like that. But do you come and give me a demonstration, and what does that process look like in terms of meeting you guys, getting the demonstration, agreeing to it, and then eventually getting something installed on my particular rig?
To start, the answer to that question is we work with every grant, both nationally and at a state level, in order to facilitate this being the most affordable to every department that we can get it to. So national hose grants, block grants, all of that stuff we work with in order to make this accessible to everybody.
To add to that, before he goes on, we also work with all engine manufacturers. So a big thing that happens with departments is they do what's called a spec, if you're not a firefighter in this chat, where they spec out an engine. You know, like you were saying, municipalities, they have a little bit of a different way of purchasing things. They can't just be in love with something and go, I want it, boom, let's hit it. They have to go through a few more steps than that. So quickly, because I know we're at the end of this, we do work with all major engine manufacturers as well to spec this into that engine when they are getting new engines built from scratch.
Yeah.
Continue.
So the process will look, we would come and do a demonstration, and then the department would say, yes, this is something that is clearly valuable. This is something we need at our department. And so depending on the style of Lifeline Firehose application they'll be using, whether that be a retrofit onto an existing engine, installing and utilizing an air cart to introduce the air, or speccing it onto a new engine. We would go through the process of first delivering the quote, agreeing to the pricing, and then scheduling either the install, or if it's the air cart, it is as simple as ordering the product, having the hose tested from our manufacturer, and then delivery. So the equipment shows up, we come and do the introduction, and you guys say, yep, this is everything that we thought it was. And then we also have additional training we can offer, whether that's training from the ground up, or whether it's training that's offered through the local training academy, whether that be an adjacent department or a community college or something like that. So all of that kind of stuff is available as well.
Yeah, that's awesome to know that you're involved with not only the manufacturers, but also the so many of the different grants that are out there as well. So I think we have reached the end of our time. I would encourage everyone to visit Lifeline Firehose, lifelinefirehose.com. If you have any additional questions, you can also reach out to us at Lift. Obviously, they are a member of ours and partner of ours, so we'd be happy to connect you as well. So I want to thank Lifeline and the whole entire team for the presentation today. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Again, awesome technology. Hopefully catches on to more and more fire departments across the country, and we'll be right there with you to help you move that along. So thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you everyone for joining today. Again, you can follow us at on your social media channels there. Visit us on our website. We do have another webinar, another liftoff webinar next week with our member EC Industries, talking about the collaboration on master alloy development. So we look forward to you joining us there. So for now, thank you very much, Lifeline, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for hosting us, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good day, everybody.